Aw yeah! The name of the show is Track Attack, and we are here to talk about some flippin' awesome video game music. As for me, my name is Matt Perez. I'm a musician, composer, and game score fanatic. Whether it's on the NES, PlayStation, or Xbox, I can appreciate a soundtrack as long as it's got some juicy ear candy to offer. But enough about that. On the docket for today is a track titled The Dark World from The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. Composed by Koji Kondo, this track features a number of tasty harmonic changes as well as a bit of rhythmic development, and I chose this work as my first piece to showcase because it really made an impression on me as a kid. I'm not sure I would have even pursued a career in music if I hadn't been inspired by Kondo's creative sense of musicality. It's a really great tune, and I'm excited about sharing it with you. So without further ado, let's get into it. Oh man, this track is great. Do you remember standing on top of that pyramid for the first time? Do you remember what it was like as a kid to explore the dark world? Did you even play this game? Whatever. All I know is that when I first got to this point in A Link to the Past, all I could think was, damn, son! This game is cool, and the music is wicked awesome. But why? What makes this track so good? Well, let me break it down for you. First off, we're dealing with some modal nonsense, so let's go ahead and get that out of the way. You see these right here? Yeah, those weird F over C chords. You might be thinking, what are those doing in the key of C minor? Well, that's a modal mixture right there. I'm talking Dorian, son. But who cares, right? Isn't the Dorian mode just a minor scale with a raised 6th scale degree? Well, yes, that's true. And to be fair, the minor scale and a Dorian mode don't sound a heck of a lot different from one another. Take a listen. That raised 6th isn't a huge deal when you're just quickly playing through a scale. It's more like a spice or some musical mayo. I don't know. But here's where things get interesting. Let's build some triads with these scales and see what we get. Nice. Now normally, your 4 chord in a minor key is a regular old minor triad. But in the Dorian mode, you get a delicious major chord. Just playing a minor 1 to major 4 progression makes me feel like I'm back in the Middle Ages, ready to hop on a horse and go adventuring. Kondo felt it was all too appropriate to evoke the imagery of medieval Europe by using this modal flavor, and I like it. But how about that rhythm? Check it out. Cool, right? This 4-bar introduction has that dark, militaristic feel due to the use of snare drum and a galloping rhythm in the trombones. It's the perfect setup for the melody which follows. Dang, this melody's good. You got them first and second violins in all their homorhythmic glory, outlining chords and whatnot. But what's really cool is how Kondo used the opening leap of a perfect fifth as a way of contrasting the game's light world and dark world. You see, when players are exploring the light world, they're accompanied by the oh-so-famous overworld theme. You might say that these two worlds, dark and light, are the opposite or inverse of one another. See where I'm going with this? Well, check it. The light world's theme begins with a descending fourth, while the dark world's melody begins with an ascending fifth. These two intervals are the inversion of one another. Kondo simply flipped the overworld theme's descending fourth on its head to demonstrate how the dark world is the antithesis to the light world. It's genius! And you know what? I'm loving this little figure right here with its neighbor tones. That's the one. It's partially derived from the galloping rhythm, but in reverse. Neat, right? Moreover, this idea of quickly dipping in and out of harmony through the use of upper neighbors isn't just incidental. Nah, man. It's going to play a role in the motivic structures of other melodic figures later on, mainly here and here. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We gotta talk about counter melodies real quick. When you got some notes and they sound good or whatever, that's a melody. And when you add another melody to that first melody, we call that second melody a counter melody. Makes sense, right? Well, here's a classic example from Pokemon Red and Blue. It's the Cerulean City theme. I love this tune. Anyhow, this right here is the melody, and anyone who grew up playing this game should more or less recognize it. But this guy, I'm talking this other melody down here, now that's the counter melody. When put together, they form some real nice harmonies and make for a pleasant background track. Right on! Speaking of counter melodies, just look at what we've got back in the Dark World over in Measure 11. Hey, it's a counter melody. Let's give it a listen from Measure 9. Man, that MIDI violin soloist is tearing it up with them chord tones and comparatively relaxed rhythmic figures. Koji K even added a nice little echo of the ascending fifth from C to G in augmentation right here. Not bad, Mr. Kondo. This next section is great. It gives us a nice little repose from the repetitive rhythms of the bass and brass by introducing a bit of rhythmic variation. Instead of hearing, we get this triplet figure really spices things up and propels the work forward. But even more driving than that is the simultaneous change in melody, harmony, and orchestration. That piccolo doubling is like the turmeric in a good curry. Not immediately noticeable, but perfect for complementing the overall taste of a dish. In other words, this is good. But let's not forget to talk E-flat major chords, because we finally get them starting in Measure 17. Now, a motion to the 3 chord can be a little lame in the minor mode, but Kondo's clever harmonic redirection to an A-flat major 7th chord in Measure 19 assists in maintaining the sincere character of this track. And hey, it's that reverse galloping rhythm from before, all over the friggin' place. This sort of motivic continuity is a great way of tying a work together, and I can honestly say that the use of repeated rhythmic figures in this track doesn't become stale with multiple listenings. But wait, what's this? A modulation perhaps? Maybe. I mean, you do have that whole C-sharp diminished 7th chord move into a D major harmony, acting like a 7 diminished 7th of 5 moving to 1 in the key of G minor, right? Okay, so maybe it's not a modulation, but it most certainly is a motion to the minor 5 chord. We can even see the same modal schmodal nonsense from the beginning of the track, now functioning in the key area of G minor. Even so, this doesn't strike me as a full-blown key change due to the fact that you don't get a complete section of musical stuff in G minor. Instead, the progression that follows is weirdly chromatic and designed to lead us back to the original key. How about that? It's those 16th note neighbor tones from earlier, taking precedence as the primary melodic figure in this section. Neat. And those are some pretty funky chords. But how did they come about? Well, did you notice the chromatic descent in the bass line? That's right. Starting in Measure 27, Kondo has the bass steadily crawl from an A flat down to a D natch, all the way over in Measure 33. Dang, son. Just for fun, let's hear some of these chords one by one. Really kooky. But what I love is how the sequence leads up to a big D7 chord, as if we're going to return to G minor, but then collapses into a G7 sus in preparation for the return of the original key, C minor. Oh, and did you notice the absence of any galloping? The bass and trombones have shifted to this somewhat syncopated thingy right here, continuing to propel the work forward with that same triplet figure on beat 4. I really like what's happening here, because this difference in rhythm from what we originally started with cleanses the musical palette, allowing for the first measures of the track to sound fresh upon the repeat. Just fantastic. All in all, this track is amazing. It scores a perfect 5 out of 5 Zeldas. It's got everything you could ask for. Surprising harmonies, a fair amount of rhythmic variety, and even a bit of counterpoint. It's got a solid structure which allows it to remain fresh upon multiple hearings, and is all around cool. I mean, I'd listen to it again. Wouldn't you? Either way, give this video a like if you think I should review more video game tunes, and leave a comment below if you'd like me to go over a particular track. You have some favorite soundtracks, don't you? Oh, and hit that subscribe button. This is my very first video, so every subscription counts. And on that note, I'll see y'all in the next video. Track Attack out!